Hi, today I'm going to talk about Kongs. Kongs are a great activity that provides mental enrichment and occupies your dog for a period of time. You can use them as a way to entertain them while you're busy, as an activity to do when you have to leave the house, or you can even feed entire meals out of them. I feed my dogs dinner in Kongs several nights a week. My larger dog, Chewy, is 35 pounds, and 2 of these large-sized Kongs makes up 1 dinner for him. So here I have 1, 2, and 3 days worth of Kongs for Chewy. Hagrid, my littler dog, is 10 pounds, and 2 of these medium-sized Kongs makes up 1 dinner for him. And I have 3 days worth of Kongs for him out here as well. Now, my dogs aren't quite as heavy a chewer as some dogs, so they find it easier to get their food out of the puppy kind of Kongs, or in my bigger dog's case, a senior Kong. The difference between the puppy and senior compared to the regular is how soft it is and how easy it is to squeeze. The regular classic Kong is red and it's a little bit firmer. And if you have a very heavy chewer, you'll want to use the black Kong, which is the extreme, and that's very, very hard to chew on. To do my little dog, I have 2 days worth right here. And then I want to point out that this quarter cup is 1 full meal for my little dog. But when I'm making Kongs, I want to reduce that ration because I'm adding other stuff to it, and I don't want to overfeed him and get him overweight. So I'll actually pull out about that much so that his cup is a little bit less than full. And so this is his ration for 1 day, for 1 meal, when he's eating out of a Kong. And I'm going to add that to my bowl right there and keep that set aside. So, and the same is true for my older dog. 3 days, this is 2 days worth of dinner. And because I'm adding extra goodies to the Kong, I'm going to take out about that much from his regular portion so that it's a little less than his usual dinner meal. And that accounts for the extra calories that he's going to get from the other goodies. In this meal, I'm going to use peanut butter because dogs like the peanut butter. And it's a rounded tablespoon here. And this, I just eyeball it. It might be a little too much. That's okay. If it is, then my dogs will get a midday treat right now. I'm also going to use, to thin it out a bit, some non-fat plain yogurt. And we use the plain because we don't want to add a bunch of extra sugar. And we use the non-fat because, well, we don't want to add a lot of extra fat. And I add this, about the same amount as the peanut butter, right to it. Maybe just a little bit more than that. Right in there as a blob. I'm going to set that aside. Just to be interesting, I'm going to add a drizzle of honey. Honey is a natural antimicrobial, so we'll put a drizzle of that in there. And I'm going to add some banana chunks, because that's exciting and tasty. And I'm going to add just a couple little pieces of strawberry, slipping right out of my hands. I'm also going to add a few slivers of almonds. And then all I'm going to do is start mixing it up until it becomes a relatively even consistency. The yogurt thins down the peanut butter some. The peanut butter makes the yogurt a little stickier. And it coats all of that kibble. And it's kind of gooey. And it looks like that. It's a bit of a mess. It's not very appetizing. This, to me, is salmon jerky. It's made in the US. And I'm going to take a chunk of that, and I'm going to drop it right down, all the way at the bottom. And this gives him a treat waiting for him right at the base. You probably can't see that, but it's way down at the bottom, stuffed in there. And then I'm going to just take the kibble mixture and start to fill it in. I use the spoon, the tip of the spoon, to push it in. And if you want to get it really, really full, you're going to get a little dirty. I take my finger and I push it in, and you can push it under the lip and around into the walls, and then you know it's going to take quite a while. And so now what looked full now has a nice hole in it still, where I can get at least one more tip of a spoonful. Some dogs are a little bit particular. Some dogs don't like yogurt. Some dogs might be sensitive to pumpkin. It may be a little too high in fiber. So you can play with what you use. This one is half. I'm going to add some pumpkin puree. Well, but I'm still going to add yogurt to this too, just so we can make it nice and interesting. Now I'm going to add some honey to that also. The dogs love the honey. And I'm going to break some of this salmon into smaller chunks here, so that it's more mixed throughout. A couple pieces of strawberry, and a couple chunks of banana. My dogs are foodies, they love everything. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this well. When I finish filling a Kong, I actually like it to have this bit at the top. And I'll smear it around. I'll do it with my spoon or with a finger, whichever is easier at that moment. So I clean it up a little bit, so you don't want it to be a whole mess. But I like to create this little dollop on top, I call it. That way, once it's frozen, they have right there at the top, they've got a nice dollop that's easy to get. This is yogurt and peanut butter with a little bit of honey in it right there at the top. So they can kind of scrape that and bite that right off, and it's a good way to start. It gets them interested and engaged. And here you have it. This is 3 days worth of Kongs that are prepped and ready to go in the freezer. And in a couple hours, they'll be frozen, and my dogs will get to enjoy dinner. Now, the cool thing about this is if I give my dogs dinner in their bowl, I've timed it. It takes them about 80 seconds. Not even 1.5 minutes, 80 seconds to eat their whole dinner. And that's even with some water in the bowl with their kibble. But with frozen Kongs, it takes them close to 2 hours to eat their whole dinner, about 45 minutes per Kong. And that means that that's 2 hours that they're entertained and that they're using their brain, because they have to figure out how to get the food out of there, especially as they work further down. This top bit, really easy to get. Once they get past that first lump, this is a lot harder to get than this. And so once they get down here, they usually have to knock it around, they have to pick it up and drop it, they have to ask me for help, which sometimes I give them. I'll give it to them by squeezing this, or by turning it this way and dropping it on the floor so it dislodges. But mostly, I try to let them figure it out themselves. And eventually they do. Eventually they will figure out, and they'll knock it off a piece of furniture or down some stairs, or they'll pick it up and drop it. And then they actually are able to dislodge the food and get the rest. But it does take them almost 2 hours, which is great, because at the end of that, they're pretty much ready to relax and settle in for the evening.